Good morning, guys. Today's topic is SDLC and its models. SDLC is simply termed as software development lifecycle, which clearly depicts about what is the process we need to follow while building a software product. Basically, SDLC has several different phases. Among the first one is requirement gathering and analysis, where we try to gather the requirement from the client, what is actual needs, how he needs the software need to be performed. It means that what are the different functionalities need to be implemented in the software. So basically, these requirements gathered from the client are so-called as business requirements. So once we are done with the business requirements, we need to convert these particular business requirement into functions and features which are being operated. In order to do that, next in the second phase of SDLC, we will be designing that particular product. It means that we'll try to identify what are the different components needed and what is the relationship between that particular components in order to bring that particular software into operation. And third one is implementation. Here we try to implement the modules what we have been designed in the previous phase, that is all about designing. After implementation, we try to test that particular thing. The fourth phase in SDLC is testing, where we check with the different testing scenarios. And once the testing has been completed, we try to deploy that particular thing at the client side. And third one is implementation. Here we try to implement the modules what we have been designed in the previous phase, that is all about designing. After implementation, we try to test that particular thing. The fourth phase in SDLC is testing, where we check with the different testing scenarios. And once the testing has been completed, we try to deploy that particular thing at the client side. So like as I already said that SDLC has several different phases. The first one is requirement gathering and analysis, design, implementation, testing, deployment, and maintenance. So this SDLC has a different models. It means that each and every organization follow this SDLC in different manners. So that is what we are going to discuss now about different types of SDLC models. Generally, as you can see on the screen, there are different types of SDLC models like waterfall model, iterative and incremental model, V-shaped model, Big Bang model, RAD model, which is nothing but rapid application development, prototyping model, spiral model, and agile model. Now we are going to discuss about the waterfall model. You can clearly see on the screen that why we have been named this particular model as a waterfall model. It means that the flow from phase to phase is simply like in a waterfall. It means that whatever the things we do in the previous phase has to be completed while we come to the next phase. You can clearly see in the figure that first we are going with the requirements, then we are coming to design. After design has been completed, we have been executing. It's nothing but implementation of that particular code. After execution has been done, we are going to test. Once the testing has been done, we are going to release a product. In this particular diagram, what can we understand? It is a simple model where it has several advantages like it can be easily understandable, it can be easily followed. But the major disadvantage in this model is that we cannot go back to the previous phase. It means that any sort of a requirement change while the process is been undergoing, it is not possible to allow in this particular SDLC model, waterfall model. Now we are going to see about where we can use this particular waterfall model. As you can clearly see that we can use this particular model only in some sort of a projects like where we can fix the requirements. It means that once the project has been started, we cannot change any sort of a requirements. In that sort of a projects only we can implement a waterfall model. While coming to advantages, there are several advantages. It is easy to understand, it has a structured approach, and each and every stage in this particular model is well defined. Okay, and due to the verification at each and every stage, early detection of errors is been possible. So obviously at later stages, if we detect any sort of an error, it will be very costly. But in waterfall model, as we are following a verification there, early detection ensures low cost. So each and every phase in this waterfall model has a specific deliverables. Whereas coming to disadvantages, as already discussed it, the requirements need to be frozen. That is the first thing. So obviously it is not very difficult. It is almost impossible to go back to previous stage in this particular model. So, and it has a very little flexibility of adjusting the scope of the project. So due to these reasons, the waterfall model sometimes becomes a much more costly than compared to other models. Now we are going to move about the next model, which is a V-shaped model. Likewise, what we have seen in the waterfall model, V-shaped model is also following us from step to step. That means that from one phase to, we'll go to the other phase only when the previous phase has been completed. But the thing the major difference between a waterfall model and a V-shaped model is that we'll be performing in a verification at the earlier stages itself. I think you can see the particular diagram, right? At the earlier stages itself, we will be performing in a verification and validation activities. That is the reason why we called this particular model as a V-shaped model. So you can see here in detailed design, we will be performing in a unit testing for what are the different modules we have been developed. At the architecture phase, in designing phase, we will be performing about an integration testing. It's nothing but we'll combine two modules and then we'll perform an integration testing on that. And at the requirement phase, we'll be performing in a system and acceptance testing. So it means that in V-shaped model, similar to the waterfall model, with an extension that we will be including in a verification and validation activities. That is the reason why we will be calling it as a V-shaped model. V-shaped model can be used where the software requirements are clearly defined and known. It's almost like in a waterfall model, right? And software development technologies and tools are also well known. The advantages of V-shape, similar to a waterfall model, it is very simple and easy to use. Each phase has a specific deliverables, high chance of success. What the waterfall model is nothing but why is due to the development of test plans early on during the life cycle. You can see in the last slide, testing will be done during the life cycle itself. Early testing has been done in the V-shaped model. That is the reason why there is a lot of advantage compared to the waterfall model in V-shaped model. Works well for the requirements are easily understood. Verification and validation of the production in the early stages of product development, as I already mentioned. And similar to that waterfall model, we are having a very disadvantages like inflexible, adjusting the scope is difficult and expensive. Software is developed during the implementation phase, so nearly no prototypes of the softwares are produced. It means that we will start implementing the software only in this phase, detailed design, implementation phase itself, here itself. So until this particular phase, the client, the user will not have any sort of a idea about how the product is been working on, right? Anyhow, we are going to see about a prototype model in the next slide. There you can understand what is actually a prototype. So as there are no prototypes available to the customer, the implementation will be, the software is being developed during the implementation phase only. Clear? As already like the waterfall model, V-shaped model is also costly and require more time in addition to a detailed plan. Discussing about a prototype model. Prototype model is somewhat different while compared to the previous models what we have been discussing. It is all about showing some incomplete version of the software program which is being developed to the client. It means that after requirement gathering and analysis, we try to design an incompleted version. It's not complete version of the software. We'll just try to build with some basic functionalities or limited functionalities and then show to the client, this is how your product will look like. If the client is okay with that particular prototype, process goes on. Otherwise, we try to build another prototype, right? So that what happens is that the client can visualize the software and we can reduce the gap of misunderstanding the customer requirements by the team. What has happened in the previous model If the customer is not a technical person, what happens is that the technical customer says something and the development team understands something. But whereas in prototyping model, due to showing some working component out to the client can visualize the particular working component so that the misunderstanding of the customer requirements can be reduced. After seeing that particular component, if the customer doesn't feel that it is not my requirement, again he will explain. This is not what is required for me. I require these particular things, right? So that what happens is that the misunderstanding of the requirements can be reduced. So basically, there are several different types of prototypes like throwaway prototyping, incremental prototyping, extreme prototyping, and evolutionary prototyping. First, we will be seeing about a throwaway prototyping. As already the name indicates that throwaway prototype. What do we do here? Is nothing but first we'll plan. After initial analysis and requirement gathering, we try to build a particular prototype. Nothing but we'll perform analysis, design, and we'll implement that particular thing and we'll build a prototype and show to the customer, client. If the client agrees with this particular prototype, the process continues and goes with the implementation with the further functionalities. If it is not, if the client is not satisfied with that particular thing, what are the prototype we have been built here, we'll just simply throw away. Again, we'll start from initial point. Again, we'll analyze the requirement. Again, we'll design. Again, we will implement and then create a prototype and then show back to the client again. If he is satisfied, goes further. Otherwise, this prototype is also thrown and we'll start with a new prototype. That is the reason why we have been termed this as a throw-away prototype. The next one is an evolutionary prototype, which in contrast with the throw-away prototyping, evolutionary prototyping is nothing but we try to analyze, after requirement gathering, we try to analyze and we try to develop a prototype. Once the prototype has been developed, we'll go with a client evolution. If the client is satisfied, go to the remaining process like design, coding, integration testing, maintenance, and other things. If the client is not satisfied, we just not simply throw away this particular prototype like what we have done in the previous prototype model. The client specifies some suggestions. What does he do? The client specifies some suggestions. After the suggestions, again we will be performing analysis and we will develop a new prototype and then send back to the client evaluation. This process continues until the client has been satisfied. Okay. So that is the reason why we have been termed this sort of a prototype as an evolutionary prototype. Right? Basing on the previous one, we try to improve the other one. Clear? That is the reason why we have been termed this as an evolutionary prototyping. And the third prototype, third model of a prototype is incremental model. Is nothing but what we do here is that the components which have been designed in the low level design, we have a different components in low level design, right? That particular components, each and every different component is been termed as one prototype. After planning, analysis, design, we will be performing a prototype. We will be building a particular prototype for each and every component of the system. If that particular prototype is being satisfied, we try to integrate all the particular prototypes and build a complete system. That is the reason why we are calling it as an incremental prototyping. It's nothing but we just combine all the component prototypes one after the other, one after the other. That is the reason why we are calling it as an incremental prototyping. Clear? And the last sort of a prototyping is all about an extreme prototyping, which has been majorly used in web applications. So basically it has three phases. The first one is a static prototype, which mainly contains of an HTML pages. And those particular HTML pages are fully functional using a service layers. And these services are being implemented. This is all about an extreme prototyping. So generally a prototyping model can be implemented where the client interaction is there. We cannot implement a prototype model in order to develop a software product unless we have a client interaction. if the client is not able to interact with the development team, we cannot follow prototype model. Okay. So there are several advantages of prototype model. It means that reduced time and cost. As the client directly interacts with the development team, misunderstanding of the requirements will not be there. So obviously the time can be reduced and the cost can also be reduced. But the same coin can also be a disadvantage. It means that if the developer loses more time in developing a prototype, if the client is not satisfied with prototypes what they have been developed by the development team, what does the developer do? They go on developing a prototype, which in turn wastes a lot of time and cost, right? And the other advantage of prototype model is improved and increased user involvement. And there are certain disadvantages of prototype: insufficient analysis, because we likewise in the other phases where we cannot go back to the previous phase. What do we do there is that we complete each and every minute analysis also. But here we don't have any sort of a restriction, that sort of a restriction. So we usually go for a development some basic prototypes. Sufficient analysis is not being done. So obviously what happens, some sort of a confusion will be there, right? And similarly, developer misunderstands of user objectives. Excessive development time of that particular prototype, as already been discussed in the advantages part, same advantage can also be a disadvantage. That is nothing but if you go on changing the prototype, the development time will be increased. So if you go on changing the prototypes, the cost also increases to implement that particular prototypes. Right? That's all for today's class. Any sort of a doubts, you can just mail to my ping to my mail. I'll be available and I'll get back with your answers. Thank you.